Buzz, 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 and welcome to the Yellowjackets Hive. I'm Medium Melanie here with...
And I'm Emily.
And we are here with a specialty spill episode all about teen Lottie Matthews. But before we dive in, we had some casting news this week. Emily, why don't you talk a little bit about the new Showtime Yellowjackets casting news?
So, as you can see from the picture, there have been 3 new additions to the cast. I'm pretty sure they're all in recurring roles, right? With the exception of, is Naya a regular or is she recurring too?
I believe that they are all in recurring roles, yes.
So we have Nicole Maines, Francois Arnaud, and Naya Sundaya have all been added to Showtime's season 2 of Yellowjackets. And we're actually the most interested in, I guess we're equally interested in the one that's playing Lisa and the one that's playing Ben's boyfriend, Paul.
Yes, and Naya is actually going to be a recast for Akila, so she's taking over another role, whereas the other 2 are new introductions. They said that Lisa, played by Maines, will be an associate of Adult Lottie, who will be played by Simone Kessell, and she's trying to recover from a past trauma. And then, like you mentioned, Paul is, of course, Ben's boyfriend, so that opens up some doors for speculation.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And we will talk about them soon enough.
We sure will. And in other news, speaking of Lottie, it was actually Courtney Eaton's birthday this week, who plays teen Lottie. How old did she turn, Emily?
She turned 27.
Yes, 27. To be 27 again. Goodness. She was born on January 6th, 1996. That was a good year. Also the year Yellowjackets is happening. So it's kind of cute. Mm-hmm. So on to our specialty spill. Again, a specialty spill is an episode on a topic or a character or a concept from Yellowjackets. And today we're going to dive deep into our spill with Lottie Matthews and also with a friend of the podcast, Oscar. Hello, Oscar.
Hey guys, how you doing? Good to be back.
We're good. How are you?
Doing okay. You know, how much further is it out? Like March 24th?
Yep. March 24th. I think we're like 70 something days away now. So it's going by fast and slow at the same time. I think
that trailer has to be coming soon. It has to be.
That's going to be a busy day.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And we're going to be streaming after shows directly following the new season 2 episode. So we're really excited about that. And Oscar, your Yellowjackets Showtime sweatshirt, very nice. Did you get that for Christmas or did you have it before?
No, I bought it like way back when. I think it was like maybe November, October, something like that.
Nice. Yeah,
it's very good.
Love it. Well, why don't we dive into Lottie's life? Let's start with Lottie as a child. We actually got to see one of her scenes from childhood in 1989. And how did we know it was 1989?
Well, when they're in the car, her parents are discussing the Exxon Valdez oil spill, which happens in 1989. So that puts them in 1989, obviously.
It does. And she's sitting in the back seat with a My Little Pony. Nice little nostalgia moment there. Big fan of My Little Pony. And they're driving in the car. And essentially, Lottie has some kind of vision or sense that something's going to happen and warns her parents and prevents them from getting in a car accident.
Yeah.
Which is interesting and opens up the door for discussion about Lottie and these visions. Are they something that's a gift? Are they related to mental health? There's, definitely a big discussion to have there. Oscar, what are your thoughts on Lottie, maybe a potential mental illness, or do you think that it's more of a gift? What are your thoughts?
Well, because we saw in the pilot episode, there were like 2 maids around her, and one brought her the medication, and that was. I think I read the other day, she may have schizophrenia or something like that, and how she got possessed in it was episode 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And may exacerbate that condition, or who knows what else might do to that.
Right. And it appears that the medication she's taking is loxapine, which is used to treat schizophrenia. So I think it is pretty safe to say that that's what she was diagnosed with. But, does the medication dull it? Does it, make it stronger? I mean, obviously in the wilderness, she ends up being off of her medication. And, another question we had was, how much medication did she bring with her?
Yeah.
How fast did she run out? Did she kind of squirrel it away and take a little bit at a time to spread it out longer? Or did she just go cold turkey once it ran out? I don't know.
She only had 6 or 7 pills in her hand when she looks to see how many she has left. So if they had been out there for 3 days, that means she probably only had 10 to 14 days worth of meds with her. So I really think she had just as much as she would need, for how long they were going to be gone. And she obviously didn't expect to get in a plane crash, so she didn't expect to not have access to her meds. So I think she probably took it as prescribed until there was just no more. And then she didn't know what to do.
Absolutely. And, even her parents were having differing opinions on, what this affliction was. Her dad was definitely on the side of this is some kind of, issue that needs a treatment with medication. And, Lottie's mom was maybe not as hard on the medication side of things. But something interesting about this car accident scene is we see Lottie in the back seat again. She's got her My Little Pony. There was also a car accident scene shot in the same way with Sammi in the back seat. Of course, Ty and Simone's son. And I think there's something interesting about the way that they purposely shot that and the fact that both of those children are having some sort of issue.
Yeah.
I mean, do we think that Sammi is going to be the new generation of Lottie? Is that, a comparison that we can make? What do you think, Oscar?
Maybe something happened in the wilderness. I don't know, because I know they split into 2 groups, right? Is it 2 or 3, or we don't even know yet?
We assume 2 clans, but I mean, it could be more. We don't know.
Yeah.
If what I think happens is true, if Ty goes on the side of Lottie, if she goes to Lottie's side, there's probably some incantation or spell she puts on all the members of her group, I guess
have power over them.
Yeah, make them swear her allegiance to her or something like that.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Yes. And speaking of the parents here, what exactly do Lottie's parents do that allows them to have so much money to charter a plane for their daughter's soccer tournament and, the maids and all that stuff? I mean, do we think it's tied into oil money maybe? They mentioned the Exxon Oil Valdez. Emily, you were researching and did find there were some oil corporations in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, there's a couple really big ones. And if they want to make it realistic, there are some in that general vicinity of the state too. So,
right, which we assume to be northern New Jersey, close to New York, because there was a reference in there about, going into the city. So,
yeah,
safe to assume it's northern New Jersey. So yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack, and hopefully we'll learn more about the state of Adult Lottie. Is Adult Lottie going to be medicated, or is she running this cult off of her meds and full Lottie vision seer mode?
I feel like if those leaked auditions that we saw / read, if they hold any water, I'm thinking she's not medicated as an adult.
Right. And refresh us on those audition tapes. There was the one scene where Adult Lottie was sitting in what seemed like a therapist office, right?
Yeah, she was having a conversation with what I would assume is her therapist. And they actually talk about Travis, if I remember correctly. She says that Travis came to her recently and was seeking her help for something. And she said that it had to do with what they did when they were in the wilderness. And she doesn't do that anymore or something like that. But just the way the dialogue, it makes it seem like she would not want to be medicated, like almost being out there off medication, like freed her in a way and made her realize, like, if she does have some type of a gift, like that the medication dulls that gift, and she doesn't want that to happen.
That's true. And it could also be possible that her experiencing that gift fully gives her these like delusions of grandeur, maybe, where, you know, it's rising her on this self-made pedestal. And, you know, she may like that feeling. It gives her a feeling of power. And, you know, maybe the medication does dull that and doesn't allow her to live to that full potential of the seer that she is.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, Lottie and her relationships. Something we found interesting was the Showtime Yule Log. Oscar, did you get a chance to watch the Yule Log on Showtime's YouTube channel?
No, was that like the announcement for like when season 2 would start, or was that something else entirely?
Yeah, it's something else. Yeah, it's really just like a 2-hour video of like looking out into in front of where the cabin is, like the log where Jackie laid on, like when she died, that area of the outside of the cabin. And as the time passes, like you can see the symbol being scribbled on the inside of the window that it's looking out of, and there's 3 separate lines of dialogue in it, and one of them is tied. Well, first of all, I think the first one is Lottie, like the first line. I think I couldn't decipher it like super well, but it was something like he gathers blessings or something along those lines. Okay. And it really sounds like Lottie. But the second one, we know for a fact, is Shauna. And she says, I can't remember exactly what she says, but she says, she
said, I'm scared, Lottie. Everything feels out of control. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next.
Yes.
And what I found interesting, and also Kaylee, friend of the podcast, mentioned on Twitter, you know, when did Shauna start looking to Lottie for reassurance? And why would they be discussing things getting out of control? I personally didn't pick up on a very close relationship between Shauna and Lottie at all.
I feel like it, you know, after the death of her best friend, and she's like feels like extremely guilty about it. Like, I feel, isn't it like a part of the grieving process to like try to latch out onto someone you feel is like safe, and like you just trust them fully?
Yeah.
That could definitely be a part of it. I would have expected her and Ty maybe to come together a little more, but of course we're only going by snippets of a Yule Log video, so you know, I mean, who knows? But that is interesting because Emily, you know, you mentioned that typically Lottie wasn't like part of a clique within the team, maybe as much as some of the other girls were.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like she was like overly close with anybody. Like, you know, Jackie and Shauna were attached at the hip. Ty and Van were obviously very close before the crash happened too. And you see bonding between all the girls, but it just almost seems like she's on the outskirts of it, like that she's not fully participating in it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there was something there with Laura Lee, because like during like that baptism in the lake.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. And you know what? We had that down as one of the most foreshadowing moments, I believe, was the baptism. Yes, the baptism vision, one of the many visions that Lottie had. You know, Lottie eventually had sought Laura Lee out in an attempt to kind of make sense to what's happening, maybe looking to see if she could explain it with her spiritual, you know, explanation. And they decided to do the baptism. And what is Lottie's vision when she's underwater getting baptized?
In her vision, you wanna tell us, Oscar? Do you remember?
Wasn't it like an explosion of some kind, or like fire?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's when she like is about to come out of the water. Yeah, she sees like a fireball behind Laura Lee's head.
Yep.
Okay.
And she
I
also,
didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm sorry.
no, you're totally good. And she also sees the underground tunnels with all of the candles lit, which is interesting. And we've speculated before, maybe there is some kind of underground tunnel or mine or another group out there somewhere. And, that's part of what she sees in that vision. And again, she has a lot of visions. We've taken some polls. One of our polls was, what do you think was Lottie's most foreshadowing moment? And she's got a few. It starts out with, it doesn't feel right before Allie breaks her leg, before they're even in the wilderness. It didn't want him to leave when they find the plane, referring to Cabin Daddy. She says, I think it will keep you safe, when Lottie gives Van the deer bone. And then she says, bad things happened here, when they find the cabin. And this poll, bad things happened here, was the number one most foreshadowing moment. What do you think, Oscar? Which of those moments would you say was the most foreshadowing for how we ended season 1?
Or is there one that wasn't in there that you think is more foreshadowing?
Probably like bad things happened here, because like very strange to find a cabin in the middle of the woods like that, like, and then like the only means of like leaving was the old plane, which was probably in like a pretty good amount of disrepair given that it exploded. But
yeah,
and like didn't Coach Scott say like there was one lever action and like thousands and thousands of rounds of ammunition? Like the guy was preparing for the apocalypse. That's what he said.
Yeah. So much ammo. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, very, very strange. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe like he built the cabin there without knowing who was there, or what. Like maybe it was like I think we talked about it the last time I was here. Like some like Native American tribe, or like some sect of some Native American tribe, and they went like they're like totally savage or something, or they're like really into the occult or spiritual, and he didn't know that before he set foot on that land and built the cabin. So maybe that's what the ammo was for. I don't know. Could be anything.
I mean, it could be anything. As with many different topics when it comes to Yellowjackets, they're very tricky and are very good at these red herrings. And another thing with Lottie's, site, gift, or whatever, we did a poll, and Lottie had foreshadowed much of what happened in season 1 throughout the course of the season. Does she have a gift? So 387 out of 850 people on Reddit answered yes, she does have a gift. 203 people answered no, she does not. 260 answered it could go either way. So I think most people do think it's a gift. Now, it depends how we use the word gift. I think that in many cases, mental illness can be a gift, because it, you operate maybe a little differently, and maybe it can be a superpower in this case for Lottie. Or, maybe it is some kind of gift or spiritual thing, which is again another TBD, but it seems most people think it's some kind of gift. So again, it will be interesting to see what adult Lottie is like. Is she medicated? Is she not? Is she having visions? Is she not? Hopefully some of those questions will be answered for us in season 2.
One of those foreshadowing moments happened while Lottie was still medicated, though. The one when she says that about Allie's leg, it doesn't feel right. She's still taking her medicine at that point in time, and she still has like if you want to call it like a premonition. But Van also says at one point that like she predicted who homecoming queen was going to be, and she predicted a scandal with like 2 of the teachers at the school. So she clearly was still able to see something even while she was medicated,
which is interesting. And that, could be a real game changer. Maybe the medication isn't strong enough, or maybe she needs a different one, or maybe it's something that cannot be controlled with any type of medication, which is maybe what I'm leaning towards. But again, we'll see. We'll see what happens in season 2. The seance was another one of those foreshadowing moments. that in itself was telling. A lot happens in such a short period of time, and it starts out just being a fun game. And how does it end, Emily?
Well, Lottie appears to be possessed, as we mentioned that before. She starts speaking in French, and the girls realize she took French in school, but Jackie said that Lottie sucked at French, so it didn't really make a whole lot of sense as to how she was able to like fluently put together sentences and stuff like that. She kept repeating over and over, "You must spill blood." At one point, Lottie grabs Shauna's arm and says to her, "It's in you already," which that moment really creeped me out when that happened.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, did she know that Shauna was pregnant at that point? No, right?
That's what it made me think. It made me think like that she somehow knows, because why else would she say that? But she says something similar to Nat the night of Doom coming. Like, she says it's in all of us, even him, even you. So it's not like she singles Shauna out and saying something like that. So maybe it has nothing to do with the pregnancy.
Right. Or it could. We never know. But everything that Lottie says during that seance is incredibly foreshadowing. Did the spirit of Cabin Daddy somehow infiltrate Lottie during the seance? And going back to "you must spill blood or else," is that a reference as to what happened to Travis the night of Doom coming? And how did Lottie know that spilling blood would, in turn provide them food? There's a lot of action during that seance. Did you have any takeaways from the seance and Lottie's behavior, Oscar?
Yeah, I mean, like when like you guys were talking about earlier, like she grabbed Shauna and says it's in you. Like I don't think it was so much about the pregnancy. She probably didn't know either that or it was like a coincidence. But it's probably like she probably singled Shauna out as Shauna seems like the most, to everybody, not to us, the audience, but to everybody else, probably like the most unassuming, probably the most like gentle person of the group. And then like that saying, it's like it's always the quiet ones that can do like the most violent things or like extraordinary things. Like it was probably something like that. And then as time went on, by the time Doom coming comes, I think it's like late fall. They crashed in like early spring, and it's like late fall at that point. Mm-hmm. By that point, I think everybody just let go of their inhibitions. They're like, all right, I guess we'll just do what we have to do then. Like people were starting to get to that point.
Yeah,
absolutely. In terms of other Lottie foreshadowing moments, we did mention the bad things happened here, and that was the one that most people thought was the most foreshadowing. Lottie said that to Ty when they initially found the cabin. And we've heard from the showrunners that the hunter's backstory is something that we're going to get, and that it might have like a Shining type of vibe to it. We might get to learn more about his family, why they came to the cabin, and what are the bad things that happened. Are they just the bad things that happened to Cabin Daddy? Like you said, Oscar, is there some sort of people on the land who've been there for years and decades and generations? We don't know, but hopefully we'll get more of the Cabin Daddy backstory in season 2. So hopefully that'll give us some more context for the bad things, what they were. I can't wait for Cabin Daddy backstory, by the way.
Me either.
Yeah, it's gonna be it. The rifle he kept was awesome too. Like those. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like Terminator, like the second one. Like his shotgun is kind of like it works the same way as that rifle. Like you can do like flips with it. Or like if you're really good, maybe Nat can do something cool with it. I don't know. I mean, I'd be pretty stoked if that happened.
Yeah, definitely. We did an episode on the symbol, and there is a lot of symbolism in the show. One of the other foreshadowing moments was Lottie giving Van the deer bone talisman and saying that it will keep her safe. We have the heart necklace as a whole nother type of situation, but Emily, tell us about what Lottie thinks this is going to keep them safe from, because she had a dream right before they left for the cabin.
Yes. So as you just said, Lottie gives Van this deer bone, and right before Ty, Van, Misty, Mari, and Akila all go to search for civilization, Lottie says that she has a dream of red smoke and a river of blood. And as we all know, the river of blood obviously is in reference to Van being attacked by wolves. And the red smoke is from when Thaisa shoots off the flare gun at the wolf when the wolf is attacking Van. So if you believe she has a gift, then she kind of did tell them what was going to happen in a sense. And maybe if Van kept that necklace on, maybe Van would have never been attacked. Like if it really...
She was wearing the necklace and she was safe in the tree, not getting eaten by wolves.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Well, another one of the foreshadowing moments was the mushroom trip, episode 9, Doom Coming. Personally, my favorite episode.
Me too.
A lot of stuff happens during Doom Coming. Emily, would you like to touch a little bit upon the mushroom situation?
So, a lot happens when the wrong kind of mushrooms end up in the stew, making it hard to suss out what is premonition and what is a result of the mushroom trip. Lottie becomes like fascinated with this hollowed out tree stump that I don't know how to explain it, but she puts candles around it and like it's almost like she like prays to it in a way. It's so strange. And she has like one of her another foreshadowing moment. She says something's coming. We won't be much longer. We won't be hungry much longer. And if you believe that was a premonition, that obviously came true and came to light when the next morning after Doom Coming, the bear wanders into their camp and Lottie manages to kill it with the knife, which was crazy.
Yes. Oh my God. And the bear was not Javi, by the way. Not Javi. Just going to say it.
I still can't believe people actually thought that.
I know. I mean, Oscar, did you have any weird Javi theories about like him being the bear, or did you think he was Adam? Anything like that for you, or not so much?
No. So I think somebody made a good point. I read a fanfic one time, and somebody put forth the idea that he was a Boy Scout, and like he knew what to do to survive on his own out there, and like either like they went out to find him, or he eventually came back on his own. Like that's what I think is probably the most plausible thing. I was gonna say he's not dead already, but of course he's not dead. So
right, unless of course he's in the cult, like the present day cult. I mean, you never know, right? And you know, speaking of the cult, we actually did a couple of polls on how culty is Lottie. We had a few different ranges, but our Reddit poll with 440 votes said that Lottie is off the charts culty. Wow. Our Twitter poll, same result, off the scale, a little bit less votes, but the second amount of votes came in a 7 to 10 on a scale of cultiness. So
I gave her a 7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if she does the cult as a full-time job. Does she need a part-time job? Is it a business like disguised as a cult, like a pyramid scheme maybe? What are your thoughts on the cult, Oscar?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like maybe you said, Melanie, it could be like a business, like a front for it, or like probably not, but like I think it'd be really cool. Like maybe it could be like a PMC or something like that. I don't know if do you guys know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Like mercenaries.
Okay.
Like maybe it could be something like that. I don't know. Like the symbol is on like guys is like armor or like helmets or something like that. I don't know. She could probably afford it since she comes from money. So
right. Yeah. And is it a family business? Are her parents involved in the cult? And maybe did they have a part in the plane crash to use as a recruiting opportunity? Probably not, but hey, I just had to throw it out there anyway. But yeah.
I've seen some like pictures and like posts on like Instagram stories from like the older cast from filming, like just like when Juliette Lewis like takes pictures of the area that they're in, like where they're filming, it looks very rural. It looks like they're on a farm almost, honestly. and they have like, there's like from what I've seen in the pictures, there's like a big property, and then they have like a greenhouse. So I feel like she probably created like a little community almost. Like that could like sustain itself, so that way like she doesn't ever have to leave.
Right. And, Oscar, to your point about mercenaries, I mean, Nat's kidnapper at the end was wearing the necklace. And I mean, they kidnapped somebody. So we don't know what's going to happen to Nat. We don't know if she's going to die or not. Probably not. I can't imagine them killing a main character in season 2. But I mean, maybe there's something to that. Maybe they are, mercenaries in some way. Yeah. Let's not forget about Travis's death. Travis, I don't believe killed himself. No way did he hoist himself up there. No way did he have those wax spots and, Misty put the puzzle together after Travis's death. I mean, for me, it's totally cult related, and they use some sort of ceremony, sacrificial, whatever they were doing out in the woods in the present day. And maybe that's what Lottie was talking about in her therapy session, doing the things that they used to do. But why would Travis be coming to Lottie for that?
Yeah.
I have no explanation why he'd live off the grid and then seek her out, or maybe they sought him out, or maybe he was part of the cult the whole time.
Unless Javi is alive and Javi is a part of the cult, then maybe that would be a reason why Travis would go to her.
Ooh.
Maybe Javi like would try to join the cult, and like Lottie put forth like the stipulation that, okay, you can join, but you have to kill Travis, like a soul for a soul or something like that.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. That would be like next level.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a good one, Oscar. I like that. You know what? We'll send you a mug if that comes true. How does that sound?
All right. That sounds dope. I love it.
All right. Yeah. We'll just, keep track. Hit us up if that comes to pass. We'll see. The other thing with Lottie is she or is she not the Antler Queen, right? I mean, there's a lot of foreshadowing, as we mentioned. She's wearing the antlers at Doomcoming. We've got the shot with her in the cabin, standing with the antlers very prominently placed behind her. But there have been some other theories out there. Our friend Kaylee had mentioned, that there's a rotating antler theory out there, which would mean that each time they have a sacrifice or perform the ceremony, one of the girls takes on the role of Antler Queen. It's maybe not the same person each time. What do you guys think about that?
I go like back and forth as to whether I think that's like plausible or not, because I can't picture Shauna doing anything other than being the butcher. So like I can never picture Shauna as the Antler Queen. It's like she wasn't there when they shot the guns, so that always like really stuck out to me, that she was the only Yellow Jacket not present when they were learning how to use firearms, unless that was just to like highlight a moment with Javi, which is like what happened. But I felt like that was because she's not a hunter and she sticks to her role as the butcher. I believe in the pilot she's the one that we see slitting the girl's throat when we see Pit Girl being strung up in the tree.
That makes the most sense to me, especially with the rabbit that she skins from chin to anus. I think it makes a lot of sense for her to be the butcher. No, we will be doing an episode on the Cannibal Council, so we will dive a little bit deeper into that. We did take a poll on Twitter asking if people think Lottie is the Antler Queen, and 63% of people responded yes, no doubt, whereas 36% responded it could be someone else. Oscar, do you 100% think Lottie is the Antler Queen or no?
I kind of go back and forth on it, because it's like, in one sense, like it makes total sense that she is, but like if we kind of like if you kind of look at how things are going down in the forest, it's like maybe eventually it is like a kind of like a rotating kind of thing, probably like to throw other people off of like who it really is, especially like say if someone, say if Ty wanted to be the Antler Queen and she knew Lottie was, if Lottie passed out to somebody else, like maybe throw the trail off or something. I don't know.
I mean, it could go either way. We see Misty taking off her mask, so she's the only person that we like know 100% is in the Cannibal Council, even though we can safely assume the rest of the survivors are as well. But I mean, can you picture Misty being the Antler Queen though? I mean, she loved the power trip of it all, but I just can't picture her being in a leadership role.
No.
Or the girls letting her be in a leadership role.
Yeah, absolutely not. No way.
I think it goes back to that saying, like, give somebody power and they'll show you who they really are. Even though Misty already shows people who she really is, but like probably even more so if she got that power.
Right. Now, maybe when they separate into clans and, you know, maybe the council is a smaller council, you know, maybe Misty and Van would jump into that Antler Queen role because we know they're Lottie's earliest followers. Of course, they're the first two we see to actually bow down to her. But I can't wait to see who the Cannibal Council is, who's in what role. Do they rotate? Is it one Antler Queen for all for the entire thing? Yet another Yellowjackets mystery that we will hopefully have an answer to at some point.
I'm really hoping like that in the season 2 premiere, like they show us more of the pit girl scene, but like either like what happens right before she falls into the pit or like what happens after, like they string her up in the tree. Like give us a little bit more context to that moment. Because I know we're not going to get that moment for a little while. Like, I don't know if we'll get it at all in season 2. So I think it would be really cool if like every season they showed us like a little snippet of that. And then like at the end, you see it all tie together and you see it all happen like in real time.
Absolutely. I would love if they open season 2 with a continuation of that, just like they opened season 1 in the pilot. I think that would be a really powerful and consistent way to open the season, which, gosh, I cannot wait for March 24th. Oh my goodness. It's funny though with Pit Girl, because at the beginning of the season, I thought Pit Girl was going to be Lottie before all of the other foreshadowing moments. Now I kind of think it's Mari, although, you know, there could be an adult Mari cast that we don't know about. Oscar, did you ever think Lottie was Pit Girl, or was she just not even a candidate for that ever for you?
No, it's like I didn't when I first got into the show, I didn't really give much thought to it. But you know, looking back now and like you know, thinking about everything that's happened, it's probably either Mari or like one of the unnamed Yellowjackets.
Yeah,
like, that's what I think.
It makes sense. It could be Crystal, this new friend of Misty's who they cast for season 2. But then again, Crystal may not even be in the wilderness. We may get Crystal's story for prior to the plane crash to see, you know, one of Misty's closer relationships. Or maybe she is part of the team and maybe she is in the wilderness.
I think she is part of the team.
I mean, is she like in the wilderness though? Because she was a JV player, right? So
I'm pretty sure she was in that picture that they released where they're like all looking at like what we think is fire.
Oh, okay. All right. That's right. Okay. Good point.
But I think she's JV, so I don't think that she like plays with the team.
Right. Okay. All right. And you know, Allie, back to her really quick, you know, that foreshadowing moment where Lottie says, you know, something isn't right when Allie, you know, gets her leg broken or it doesn't feel right. You know, I think for me, when that happened, it was a really early foreshadowing moment, but Allie really dodged a bullet there in terms of like not ending up in the wilderness. And they talk about the trauma bond and all that. But can you imagine if she actually was there in the wilderness, like how annoying she would be? I mean, I could not even be around her. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I would have given her to like maybe see. You know what? I would have given her until like when did the wolf attack happen? I think it was episode 7, episode 8.
Yeah, I believe so.
She probably would have got mauled. Like Van still would have got like messed up, but she would have got mauled.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Lottie has a lot of good dialogue throughout the show. One of her most notable quotes, "We let the darkness set us free." And I mean, that's another foreshadowing moment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she knows it's darkness and setting them free. Does that mean protecting them? Does that mean giving them food so they can survive? Like, what does that mean? What does the darkness set us free mean? Do you guys have any ideas on that?
Like, that makes me more inclined to think that, like, this is supernatural. Like, what's happening out there to them is supernatural. And she knows that there's some kind of a force out there that is, quote unquote, messing with them or like interfering with their time out there. And that would kind of almost bring it back to like what you said, Oscar, about like the possibility of it being like Native American land or something like that. Like maybe the land is cursed or something along those lines. And for some reason, Lottie has like that intuition and she knows and she can feel it more so than any of the other girls that are there.
That could definitely be. Oscar, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think what that means is like kind of the only way out is through. Ooh. And like by that, what I mean is like if they want to like escape, you know, where they are, they're gonna have to embrace like, you know, the depravity, the madness, all that stuff to make it through, so that they survive long enough to make it through to the other side.
Right, absolutely. That's a really good thought. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Another line that I personally loved from Lottie was the TJ Maxx line. So they're all kind of going through talking about, you know, maybe like Laura Lee talks about, you know, maybe she caused all of this because what did she cheat on a test or I forget what it was.
She called her piano teacher a bad word.
In her head though, right? Like she didn't even say it out loud. I think.
Yeah.
So Lottie then says, you know, something that she did that was a little like evil or whatever. She said, I steal shitty clothes from TJ Maxx, I return them, and I get a credit that I never use. And I have thousands of dollars in TJ bucks. And for some reason, that just cracked me up. I love that line. I've always been a TJ Maxx shopper myself. And I just thought that was funny. First of all, that the girls think that anything that they could have done, you know, got them landed here. But also like, as if TJ Maxx bucks would be like enough of bad karma to, you know, an entire plane full of teenagers. Are there any lines, Oscar, or moments? Like, what's your favorite Lottie line or Lottie moment from season 1?
Probably when she tells Jackie she doesn't matter anymore, and like shoves her in the pantry or the closet or whatever it is. I think it's a closet. Yeah, it was kind of like
that was intense.
Yeah, I guess like she saw Jackie as like a sacrifice at that point.
Right.
I never thought of it that way.
And it was like a 3-part process, Jackie's death. You know, Misty first accused Jackie of not buying into the whole bear thing and giving thanks. You know, Lottie had, you know, put her in the closet during Doom coming. And then the final blows, of course, were, you know, Shauna and Jackie getting in a fight and then her dying. But in terms of the bear and that line of dialogue, so they get the bear. Lottie says a prayer before they eat it. She says, for this gift from the wilderness, we give our thanks. To the spirit of the bear who sacrificed so we could survive, we give our thanks. To the ancient gods of the sky and the dirt, we give our thanks. And I think that's, you know, really interesting, again, that, you know, Jackie doesn't buy into it and Jackie dies, but there's a lot of meaning in that line. I just, you know, the bear thing and the symbolism, I was just actually trying to look for the picture of her holding up the bear heart, but I did not pull that photo, so I will not show that. But what are some other lines along that Lottie says that are foreshadowing, Emily?
She also, at one point, when Jackie goes down to the lake to get water, she finds Lottie standing in the water in her pajamas, and she says, Lottie, aren't you cold? And Lottie says, yes, actually, I thought it'd be warmer. So I always felt like that was foreshadowing of Jackie dying, because Jackie freezes to death. Maybe it could have another meaning, but that's what I always thought. I mean, obviously, after watching season 1 as a whole and watching it again, that's what I thought. Because again, like, watching it through the first time, like, you might not realize that these moments are even foreshadowing. Like, the first time I watched, when she says it doesn't feel right about Allie's leg, that completely went over my head, and I like didn't think anything of it. But when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, maybe this is another one of those moments that we just didn't realize that it was happening.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely, every time you rewatch, I feel like you pick up on new things and different things and, apply meaning to them. Oscar, how many times have you rewatched Yellowjackets season 1?
I only went through, well, how it happened was I saw the first episode on YouTube. I got hooked. Then I was like going back and forth on buying Showtime for it, and I'm like, you know what, I'll just bite the bullet and buy it. I sat through it. I made it through it like in like 2 days, and then afterwards, like I haven't really watched it since, like maybe like snippets of it, but I don't know. Like, I guess like what happens to Shauna is like. I identify a lot with her, like my teen self would, not screwing your best friend's SO behind your back. Like I wouldn't do that, but
Never.
I identify a lot with her, and it's like seeing what she went through, especially. It's like, I don't know, like I don't like the feeling it gives me. I don't know what it is. It's uncomfortable for me. So
yeah,
totally get that. I mean, there's a lot of uncomfortable, dark moments in season 1, and from what I hear and from what the cast is saying, they're saying season 2 is going to be even more wild. Which episode, Emily, did they mention specifically that was like the craziest one? Was it episode 2 or 6?
They've said a little bit about both. Like, I know some of the older cast said that they read episode 1 and they were like, this is good. But then they read episode 2 and they were like, this is insane. But I think Sophie Nelisse was talking about episode 6 when she said that they have to do something that was really hard for her to do. And like, she even talked about it with her therapist, like what they had to do in the show. So I was thinking maybe that means it has something to do with the baby, but I feel like that's still early for something to happen with the baby, unless she does go into like premature labor, which could happen.
Right. I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, I think it's either like a full-on like abortion. Maybe this time it's successful in the cabin, or it's like an attempted suicide scene because of what happened to Jackie. Like, either one of those would be pretty rough to try to shoot, especially with everybody watching you too. Like, totally get it.
Right. Or I mean, maybe it's the first time that they eat a person. I don't know.
That could be.
Will they eat a person in season 2? Are they that desperate yet? I mean, you assume the bear meat is going to, provide them for a while. Lottie even says we won't be hungry much longer. And I assume if they, treat this bear meat properly, they should have a pretty good supply, hopefully, to get them through the winter. But I don't know. I mean, what season do you guys think they're going to start eating people? Like, is season 2 too soon? Too soon? Maybe not.
Probably either towards the end of season 2 or like at the start of season 3. That's where I'm going to place it.
Yeah, okay. I think that's a safe assumption.
I feel like we could have like a whole thing in Vegas where we bet on Yellowjackets things, like things and things happening. I mean, there's just so many different avenues. We've talked about, a bingo card before, figure out how to do that. But I mean, we've all got our theories. It's one of the best parts about the show, I think. One of the other foreshadowing moments we mentioned before was when Lottie said it didn't want them to leave. She says that line when they find Cabin Daddy's plane. And, again, one of the biggest foreshadowing moments, she's referencing Cabin Daddy. So the plane didn't allow them to leave. When the girls went on the expedition and Van got attacked by wolves, that did not allow them to leave. So, there's obviously some kind of force working here preventing them from leaving. Do you think they're going to try to leave again? Or do you think that the rescue is going to be, somebody else coming to them?
Yeah. I don't think that after after Van almost dies, I think that like will scare them enough to stay put. And I feel like if Coach Ben was in better shape, it might be a different story, because like he might go off as the adult there and try to get help, but obviously he can't do that because he only has one leg. So he's leaving it up to them to provide and survive. And I just feel like that happening would scare like the shit out of them. And any other attempt would have to be like really well thought out, really well planned. But I think that rescue comes to them. I don't think that they seek it. I think that they're somehow found by someone.
Oscar, do you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. I mean, who knows? They might try one more time out of like extreme desperation at this point. It's like, you know, you don't care what happens to you. If you can find somebody, like whatever, if you lose a hand, a finger, whatever, it doesn't matter to you. But I'm probably leaning towards I probably stay towards the cabin, because it's like I always thought like if the hunter had like a few more weapons lying around, like guns, even possibly better guns, like better than a lever action, maybe like a semi-auto or something. Like they'd have a better chance of getting out. But then again, like the gun might misfire, it might jam because of the whole supernatural thing. So it's hard to say.
Right. I mean, they're lucky that first gun works in the first place, given how old it is. I mean, obviously, the skeletal remains of Cabin Daddy have been there for quite some time. So it's good the gun did fire and that the airplane did start up, which I think both of those may be a little suspension of disbelief, because let's face it probably wouldn't have happened in real life, but works for the show. So, I
think it's like safe to assume that he would have been in the cabin like in the late 70s, like early 80s, like because the porn that they find in the cabin looks like 70s style porn. And they say they think somebody had been there like a decade ago. So I'm thinking like the last time he was there and alive was like in the early 80s.
I think
in context clues.
Yeah, that is definitely a safe bet. And again, hopefully we get more Cabin Daddy backstory and we can learn more about whatever this darkness is, what's keeping them here, what exactly killed Cabin Daddy. Did he kill himself? Probably not, because I think he'd be positioned differently and not holding the gun. But either way, we know that there are forces at play out in the wilderness. We know that Lottie has definitely foreshadowed a lot of things and put a lot of different things out there. We do feel that she's the shaman or the seer visionary of the group, and, you know, fits that role, plays that archetype very well. Any last thoughts, Oscar, on Lottie? Anything you would like to see from Simone Kessell in season 2 for Adult Lottie? Any other thoughts on teen Lottie or her childhood, or any other Lottie thoughts?
I don't know. Like, I think we've seen like as much as they'll give us for Teen Lottie. Like for now, like they're keeping it pretty close to the vest, it seems like. But I really think Adult Lottie will be exciting because of like all the possibilities of what it could be. Like, could it be like a front, or like what was said before, like the whole commune like farm thing, or is it like a kind of like a PMC, maybe like mafia style contract killings? Who knows?
And what do they want with Nat? What do you think they want with Nat? Like, what? Any thoughts on that?
Probably either like she's probably like the strongest or the most brash, and that's how she's always been. Like even before the crash, she was like that. Or maybe it has something to do with her drug addiction. Like right. She's rehabilitated now, but maybe it has something to do with that. Like maybe Lottie can exploit it or something to further her own goals.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the timing that the cult members just bust in and kidnap her right as she's about to pull the trigger and kill herself. So, did they have a hidden owl diffuser camera equivalent in the room as well? Were they watching her? How did that timing match up so well? There's a lot of questions in the whole kidnapping scenario.
That moment, like in the show when she's being kidnapped and you hear Susie say, "Who the fuck is Lottie Matthews?" Like, I will never forget that moment watching that the first time. Like, I had goosebumps like the size of dinner plates because nobody suspected that. Like, that was the last thing that you suspected. And I just looked at my husband and I'm like, "Lottie, are you kidding me? Oh my God."
Oh my God. And, that brings me back quickly to the note that Travis left, probably for Nat, that said, tell Nat she was right. What was she right about? I feel like there's something telling in that note as well. Or was it not even directed at Nat, or did it say tell Nat she was right or tell her she was right?
Yeah.
It was tell Nat she was right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's possible that he could have meant that Lottie was still alive and for some reason they thought she was dead. That's just like one of the possibilities that I've thought it could mean.
Right. Which two adult Yellowjackets are you most excited to see together? For me, it's going to be Ty and Van. I cannot wait to see the moment when Ty and Van come back together in the adult timeline. I mean, maybe they've been working together this whole time and we didn't know it. Maybe Van was somehow involved in this whole alter Ty setup. So for me, those are my two. But what about you guys? What two adults are you looking forward to most seeing like together for the first time?
For the first time, it would probably have to be Ty and Van too. Because I mean, I absolutely love Misty and Nat together. Like their duo is probably like my favorite. The adults, Misty and Nat, like they're just hilarious. And I love all the scenes that they have with each other. But yeah, definitely like adults that we haven't seen yet, Ty and Van. But I'm also interested to see Van and Lottie interact because from what we've seen of adult Van, it doesn't seem like she's still a part of Lottie's group. So something has to happen that causes Van to like fall out of allegiance with Lottie. So I'm really curious to know what that is.
Yes. What about you, Oscar?
Probably like when they reveal to us like what happens, like where Nat is and if like she's with Lottie. So like I guess Nat and Lottie.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it'd be like a kind of thing where it's like Nat is tied to a chair, like and with a bag over her head, and like she gets it ripped off, and Lottie's like, well, "How you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. I thought we'd catch up." I feel like that'd be pretty funny.
Talk about a reunion now. Those two together, absolutely. That would be a very strong start to the season as well. They start with like another pit girl reveal type thing, give us a little more insight. And then we flash to, Nat and Lottie in the first scene together of season 2. For me, that would be perfection. I would love that.
Yeah. I'm really excited. Now that you say that, Oscar, I'm really excited to see Nat and Lottie like interact as adults too.
Yes, and I mean all of them, right? Like Lottie and Shauna, Lottie and Misty, like how have their relationships evolved over the years? Have they had any contact with each other? At one point they reference, have you heard from the others? And, no, the others, we've not heard from them in a long time. So did they have some contact? Did they not? I don't know.
It could go so many ways.
Absolutely. Well, Oscar, anything else you would like to share on Lottie before we say goodbye to you?
It's gonna be like totally, well, not totally unrelated, but so you guys know the still of like when Lottie's holding, like I guess, or when Melanie brought it up earlier, the picture of her like staring ahead with the quote next to her head.
Yes.
Let the darkness set us free.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you guys seen that? That one. Do you guys know about that kind of like, I don't know if it's like a meme that people do, but it's like they kind of Photoshop a big grin on people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's so funny.
People have done it to that still. Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
I've not seen that. No. Oh,
yeah.
I'm missing out.
I'll send it in the chat. It's pretty. It's part funny, part like scary.
Yeah. It's a little scary.
Yeah, please send that our way. I would love to see it. And, Oscar, we cannot thank you enough for joining us today. It is always fun to have our fan friends on to unpack and dive deep into these specialty spill episodes. And we hope you'll join us again at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy being a part of this. I don't know, like this is a rotation kind of thing, right? Because like maybe I don't know if it's possible to get on one more time before the new season starts. So.
Yes, we are going to have a Hive hangout, so we can definitely keep you in the loop with that. It'll be kind of a fan panel type of thing where we discuss the trailer once it's dropped, and there may be another opportunity as well. So we'll just kind of keep our dialogue open. And again, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we will see you again soon. We're sure.
All right, I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for having me so much. Thank you so much.
Oscar. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was fun. I always like having fans join us. It gives a different perspective, especially a guy. I mean, because we're girls, so it's always good to get the male perspective on everything. And Oscar's great. I mean, he had a lot of good things to share about Lottie. And I feel like we spilled pretty well. Do you think that there's anything we missed, Emily?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything that we wanted to cover.
I think so too. I think the big takeaways for Teen Lottie are the fact that she either has some kind of a gift or a mental illness that is providing her these visions. Lottie was the machine for foreshadowing many different things from the start of season 1 to the end. And, we end the season with who the fuck is Lottie Matthews? So, I mean, she plays such a big part in it. I would imagine, like we just talked about, she's got to be somewhere in the opening 10 minutes of season 2, I would think. And I can't wait. Simone Kessell, of course, is going to be playing Adult Lottie. This is a photo of her Instagram from her filming up in Vancouver. I am so excited to see what she brings to the role of Lottie and like how her and Courtney have worked together to try to kind of get on the page. I'm looking forward to reading more on that and just seeing her on screen. We saw her picture with the other adult Yellowjackets, but we really haven't seen, like we saw pictures of Adult Van. We have not seen that from Adult Lottie yet.
Yeah, it makes me think that they're going to release something because they're introducing 2 new adults to the cast that are very important. And they've already done like a special photo shoot for one of them. So why not the other one?
Yes. One thing with Showtime is they're so smart with their promotional cycle. They're very strategic with the times that they're releasing all of this casting news, the promotional things, the Yule Log. They had the Yellowjackets Marathon, which of course we did a live tweet along for, which was super fun. Thanks to everyone who joined us for that. So I think you're right. I think, the next part of the cycle will probably be Adult Lottie unveil. I know Twitter went crazy when the van photos came out. So I imagine the same exact thing will happen once we see some context for Adult Lottie. Like, what is she going to be wearing? Is she like business casual?
She's going to be wearing purple?
Activewear, purple, like purple scrubs. Like, I mean, there's just so many things. I cannot wait to find out about Lottie Matthews. And we should note that because they say, who the fuck is Lottie Matthews? She probably didn't get married, right? Or maybe if she did, she may not have taken the maiden name or taken his name and kept her maiden name because she's like a powerful, person. But I speculate she's not married. She's still single.
There was some theories on Reddit where people were saying they think that she married either Javi or Travis.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
I've heard the Javi one, but the Travis one? Really?
If she was married to Travis, then that would have given her access to his bank account.
Right.
But I think that it's more likely that she gained access through Javi. At least that's my theory that I'm going to hold on to until it's disproven.
Absolutely. And, we've got lots of theories. Speculating is basically our favorite hobby. We both consider ourselves to be citizen detectives, especially when it comes to Yellowjackets. And this was a really fun specialty spill episode.
Yeah.
Our next one will be on Coach Ben. Cannot wait.
Yes, I know that there's some people out there that are really excited for us to talk about Coach Ben, just like they were excited for us to talk about Jeff, because like we said, like this show really is like there's a lot of women in the cast and women in the forefront, and there's a lot of women fans. So it is nice to talk, like get a guy's perspective. And I know the guys who watch and listen will appreciate that too.
Absolutely. It is a very female forward, female centric show, character driven by those characters. And it is fun to explore the male characters because they're there for a reason. They play an important role, and it will be very exciting to speculate more on Coach Ben, especially now that we know we will see his boyfriend Paul in some capacity in season 2. So cannot wait for that. I feel like we've spilled all of it on Teen Lottie. Emily, what do you think?
Yeah.
Well,
we covered it pretty well.
We have, and we'd like to thank all of our watchers, all of our listeners, Oscar for joining us, our friend Phoenix, who's sitting backstage hanging out watching us. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And so Hive babes, we appreciate you all.
Yes. Until we spill again.